Warriors reporter Anthony Slater. Anthony, take us behind the scenes on how the Warriors weekend went so far in Minneapolis.
Emotional, a roller coaster. They get here Friday. They have to rush here from Dallas to avoid the winter storm. It's sub-zero. It's -12 when they arrive, and there's a protest at the airport. They then get to their hotel, and it's a high-rise in downtown Minnesota. Steph Curry pulls his phone out. He describes what he calls as like kind of an inspirational scene. He sees thousands of Minnesotans protesting, and this was about the issues previous to Saturday. So again, he called it a beautiful scene. And then by the time Saturday rolls around, obviously the tragedy strikes, 2 miles south of downtown, and it turns a lot darker, as Steve Kerr mentioned. The teams get together. The Warriors let, Minnesota decide what was best. They decide to postpone the game. And you get to Sunday, and like maybe some of the feelings had iced over a little bit, but I'm on the way to the arena. There's protests outside the arena. They're, on the streets under the Skyway in the arena. As they mentioned, it was a sad, somber scene. And it's a big win for the Warriors. They blew out Minnesota at a time when they needed it, but it was not a joyful post game. They mentioned, noticing the other team was suffering a lot, and that was about as sad a win as I've seen.
It's bigger than basketball, but as for the game tonight, after last night's blowout, what is Steph Curry's status heading into the game?
Yeah, so it was interesting. During Saturday, when they postponed the game, he said he was glued to the TV watching news, but at one point he did go over to the arena to get a workout in, and he felt a flare-up in his right knee, and he was actually questionable for yesterday, did a pregame workout, played through it, played 28 minutes, scored 26 points, but he's questionable again tonight. He should be arriving at the arena, behind me shortly, and I think he's going to test it pregame, currently questionable, but the expectation is he's going to try to give it a go, but we'll see.
If Steph gives it a go tonight and scores, he'll break a tie with Paul Pierce for 19th on the NBA's all-time scoring list. The NBA, where the Warriors and Timberwolves play a second straight game in Minneapolis tonight. While Golden State won 111-85 yesterday, many of the thoughts were off the court after the deadly violence in the city. A moment of silence was held before the game for VA ICU nurse Alex Preddy, who was shot and killed by ICE agents during a protest. He's the second protester killed by immigration authorities in the city this month. Plenty of reaction after yesterday's game.
So whatever is going on, somebody lose their life, you never want to see that, And, like I said, from the minute I've been here, Minneapolis has been great to me. The fans, the community have been really behind me. Everyone, neighbors that I live, community I live in, the school my son goes to, just everything, it's been nothing but a joy living.
Antetokounmpo is out at least 4 to 6 weeks with a calf strain. He missed 8 games in December with a strain in the same calf. Timetable for his return comes after the February 5th trade deadline. The Bucks had talked about being buyers, but what should they do now? Mark J. Spears and Ramona Shelburne with both sides of this tale.
I think it's in the best interest of both parties that they find a safe place for him to go. I'm sure Giannis is a guy that wants the Bucks to be in a good position going forward. This is a small market team. Tough position for John Horst. When you look at Bobby Marks' wonderful, amazing story, to me the Atlanta Hawks make sense. You could make a trade there. You get the pick from Atlanta coming from New Orleans. Obviously, the Bucks have a good pick. That gives them potentially 2 top 5 picks, get Zachary Risachet back. The Bucks are in a tough position where both sides have to win. To me, the Atlanta one makes the most sense.
This is your generational superstar. This is a guy who brought a title to Milwaukee. You don't have to do anything fast. And if anything, I think this latest injury takes the pressure off. I think there would have been pressure on Milwaukee to make a trade to add to this roster to try to take one last shot at keeping Giannis healthy and happy in Milwaukee, maybe saying, here's a path forward. It's all going to come down to this summer. Does he sign the extension or not? And you don't have to make a move for this summer right now, because he's going to be out for an extended period of time. Maybe there's a better trade near the draft. Maybe there's time to resurrect things or do something different. You don't have to make any trade under duress, especially while the man is hurt.
NBA analyst Kendrick Perkins with us now, and I love this, Perk, because there genuinely are 2 sides to this, or many opinions of how this should be handled. What side are you on? What do you think?
My side, the one in the middle, that's going to say it's time. It's time for the Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis to go their separate ways. I completely agree with Mark Spears on this one. What are they holding on to? And when you think about this timing of Giannis, right, we're talking about a guy that's in the middle of his prime, a guy that's going to go out there and give you 30 and 10, a guy that wants to compete for a championship right now. Not next season, but right now. And if I'm Milwaukee, I'm tired of having this dark cloud over my head. At some point, you got to look at and say what's best for the organization. You got to look at the other guys that's in that locker room right now and wondering what they're thinking on a day-to-day basis walking into that practice facility or walking into that game arena. Hell, it was so dead in that arena the other day, Matt. I swear to God, I was listening through the television. I heard a mouse fart. That's how quiet it was in that arena because there's no energy. They want it to be over. And so at the end of the day, I understand we're talking about a generational talent, an all-time great, but it's time to part ways.
Yeah, look, I don't know where you're watching games with mice running around doing that, but wherever they're gassy, you don't want to be around Perk. By the way, Giannis won him a title. We're good there. Kendrick Perkins will continue to watch this story, sir. Thank you. Good thing you need to know.
Jerseys hanging up in the United Center, but we got to welcome in our guys, Zach 70 and Alex Selznick, a.k.a. Prop Stars, to break down tonight's NBA slate. But first, we got to start with that moment in Chicago. Derrick Rose spent 8 seasons with the Bulls. He became the youngest MVP in league history in 2011, and he carried that team to the Eastern Conference Finals before injuries changed everything. Proppy, with his jersey now retired, what was your favorite D-Rose moment?
Well, you mentioned one, Katie, which was certainly winning the MVP in his 3rd year, becoming the youngest MVP in NBA history. But I'm going to go back to when he was playing at Memphis, and they got off to a 26-0 start. He was absolutely sensational his freshman year playing for a John Calipari coach Memphis team. They ended up losing in the national championship to Kansas that year, but Derrick Rose at the time had certainly one of the great seasons by a freshman in NCAA history, and then was drafted into the NBA first overall and hit the ground running, was sensational right out the gate as well. And while he may not have had the longest career as far as his peak was concerned, when he was at the height of his powers, he was certainly one of the most dynamic guards in league history, certainly of his era. So I'll look back fondly to both his collegiate career and his NBA career.
I'm going to go with 2 here. Before the knee injury, I'm going to go with a 2-handed power slam over Goran Dragic of the Phoenix Suns. One of the best poster dunks of all time in open court. You can see Goran Dragic try to take the angle to chase down Derrick Rose, and he shouldn't have done it. He looked frozen in the air while Derrick Rose just kept elevating up, 2-hand power slam over him. And then towards the end of his career, was pretty much a role player off the bench, but he did have a huge outburst with the Minnesota Timberwolves in 2018 when he had that 50-point game. And it was just the emotions afterwards, just Rose pouring it all out post-game, letting everyone know how hard it was for him just to get back to that level. So 2 good Derrick Rose moments for me.
Yeah, I thought when I was watching that ceremony back, the coolest part was when Michael Jordan had the video package that came in where he said he had an unbelievable career and that he was very proud of him. To say that number 23 is proud of you is probably a proud moment for anybody. But Zach, when you look at this era, right, his era, 8 seasons in Chicago, Rookie of the Year, youngest MVP in league history, where do you rank Derrick Rose among the players of his generation?
No, just like Proppy just touched on, this is tough for me to give a specific ranking for Derrick Rose because his peak was such a short period. It had the 4 great years from 2008 to when the injury occurred in the playoffs 2012. And at the time, he was top 5 for sure in the NBA. But to play 11 extra years, 15 years in the NBA speaks to the work he did to just get his body in shape year after year, because most people, after suffering that significant of an injury, they're going to have a short span left in the NBA. So Derrick Rose, he showed that commitment, but as far as putting a ranking on him, I have to put him in the what-if category, sort of like Penny Hardaway or Grant Hill, that also had short windows of greatness that we didn't get to see the full potential of their careers.
I thought Zach hit the nail on the proverbial head. While he had a great peak, certainly if we're measuring peaks, he maybe had a top 10 season at the point guard position. But if we're talking about the all-time list, I think longevity speaks volumes. And there's just, frankly, a lot of guys who played the position who were great for a decade plus. While it is certainly impressive, Derrick Rose was able to continue to play post-injury, really had to adjust the way he played. He was a guy that was so dynamic, so athletic, and explosive. Post injuries, he wasn't that same player, but stuck in the league for a very long time. Was accepted a role coming off of the bench, whether it was the sixth man or even closer to the end of the rotation. This was a guy that made a lot of sacrifices and truly evolved and matured as a player. So I certainly will look back fondly, but to me, he's not in my top 10 just because the peak was as short as it was.
Yeah, it just proves like how special it is when there is a player that has that longevity and can play at an elite level for a long period of time. That is rare air up there, but certainly a great moment for Derrick Rose. The Bulls are playing tonight. We will get to them in a second. But fellas, let's look at the NBA slate now. Right now, the Magic are 6-point dogs on the road in Cleveland. Cavs 27-20 overall, 15-11 at home. They have won 3 straight, but they're not that great against the spread. In fact, 17-30. It's good for a league worst. That said, the Magic likely a little fatigued post-Europe trip, and Paolo Banchero is questionable. So, Proppy, when you look at this one, what has your attention?
Katie, you know I am a sucker for a discount, and we're getting a big discount on Jalen Suggs' combination line. Just 18.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I like the over here. Jalen Suggs being one of my favorite players in the NBA. This guy's one of the better two-way point guards in the league. Plays exceptional defense. He's a very heady point guard, very high IQ. Does a lot of little things that don't necessarily show up on the stat sheet, but he's seen his production increase significantly recently. Prior to going down with a brief injury, he was averaging 18 points, 4 rebounds, and over 4 assists per game. This is just his third game back, but I expect his minutes to increase here. And at just 18.5 PRA, he can get hot and do this in points alone. So I will gladly take the discount on the combination line for Jalen Suggs tonight.
And I'm liking Proppy's play because that could help me out with my under on Anthony Black, going under 15.5 points for Anthony Black. I'm looking at Orlando right now. They're really struggling. 3 straight losses, and they've been bad losses, all by double digits. They had a huge scoring dip, averaging just 104 points during this current losing streak, and Cleveland was their last opponent. They limited the Orlando Magic to 40% shooting, and when you look like a player like Anthony Black, he's having a breakout year, but with that come the ups and downs. He had a 4-game stretch where he scored 19 or more points. His last 2 games, he scored just 20 total points overall. So it's always tough seeing the same opponent in consecutive games, being that this is on the road as well. I think it's going to be tough for the Magic to go under 15.5 points for Anthony Black.
All right, good stuff, guys. The C's are laying 7.5 at home against the Blazers in a rematch after Portland's 114-108 upset win in December, late December. Zach, do they get their revenge tonight, Boston?
I do think they get their revenge, minus the 7.5 you touched on. They actually lost the first matchup against Portland on December 28th, that 6-point loss where Portland beat Boston at their own game. They made 5 more three-pointers than the Boston Celtics ended up making 18 three-pointers overall. But this one right here is just the concern with Deni Avdija of the Portland Trailblazers, still listed as questionable the last time I checked, and he has to be on the floor for the Trailblazers against any opponent, because we've seen him miss a few games recently against Golden State, against the Toronto Raptors in the Trailblazers last game, and Portland just could not score. They scored under 100 points in both of those games. So for me right now, with Avdija still pending, I'm going to lay the 7.5 with the Boston Celtics.
And if Avdija misses this game, guys, that means a lot of that usage will trickle over to Jrue Holiday, who I like to go over his PRA line of just 20.5. Jrue Holiday has been a great addition to this Blazers team. He's provided them with veteran leadership, someone stable at the point guard position, kind of similar to what I was talking about with Jalen Suggs. He's a great two-way player, very high IQ, does a lot of little things, but this is a low number for Jrue, who this year he's averaging 15 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds. He's played very well for this Blazers team. And if Deni Avdija, who's been one of the highest usage players, is not on the court, I really think that Jrue is going to absorb a lot of that usage, and we'll see a lot more shot attempts from him, even if he only plays around 22 to 25 minutes. I would also add, I'm not a narrative bettor, but I'm sure that there's a little bit of extra juice tonight from Jrue facing his former team in the Boston Celtics, who traded him in the offseason for Anthony Simons. So I'd like Drew Holiday to go over his PRA tonight.
I am a narrative better, and I absolutely love that. Everybody likes a little revenge. Let's go Drew Holiday over on his points, rebounds, and assists. And I do like the C's to win and cover like Zach does. Next up, the Lakers visit the Chicago Bulls on the second night of a back-to-back. Favored just under a basket here. Chicago is on a 4-game win streak. They beat Boston on Saturday. Zach, what do you like in this matchup?
I'm going to take the home underdog here with the Chicago Bulls plus the 1.5. You touched on the Lakers. They're coming off one of the more ridiculous roller coaster wins of the NBA season against the Dallas Mavericks. They had a double-digit lead at halftime, ended up being outscored by 21 points in the third quarter, and they still came back and won that game by 6 points. So I do worry about Luka Doncic's game tonight, coming off that emotional return to Dallas. And Chicago's had the upper hand in this series, where they've won 3 out of the last 4 meetings over the Los Angeles Lakers. Actually won both meetings last year. Some key points in those victories: 146 points in one, which is the most points JJ Redick's Lakers have given up since he took over as coach. And the other one was the LeBron meltdown turnover game in the final minute. So I like the Bulls in this spot. They're playing well at home. I'll back them plus the 1.5.
And if the Bulls find success at home, it's likely because Josh Giddey had a good game, guys. So I'm going to isolate a prop of his. I'm looking at his RA line, his rebounds and assists, over just 13.5. Again, I love a good discount. He's averaging 9 rebounds and 9 assists. So typically this line is anywhere from 17.5 upwards of 19.5 sometimes. So we're getting a sizable discount because he did miss some time due to an injury. This is just his 3rd game back, but in his last outing had double-digit assists in addition to 8 rebounds versus Boston in just 26 minutes of play. This is going to be an optimal environment. We're talking about a game with a high projected total of 235 points. Neither team heavily favored, so it projects to be competitive, and neither team plays defense, which should lead to some additional possessions, and we know additional possessions mean extra opportunities for rebounds and assists. This is one of my favorite props on the board tonight. Josh Giddey over 13.5 rebounds and assists.
I love that look for Giddey, and I agree with you, Zach, on Luka. You got to think there's a little bit of a come down here. Maybe he's had a few of his recovery beers that he likes to have. One thing I will say is the Bulls mascot, Benny, is probably my favorite mascot out of all of the mascots. He is just a legend in himself. He needs to be retired in the rafters as well. But fellas, now the largest spread on the board. The Rockets laying double digits over the Grizzlies. Memphis 1-4 against the spread in their last 5, and they're really bad against teams over 500. They just lost 133-127 to the Pelicans on Friday. Failed to cover as 5-point favorites. What do you like here, Proppy? Perhaps a prop.
Indeed, a prop, Katie. You read my mind. And after taking 3 overs, guys, it's going to go right back to where I'm most comfortable, taking an under. And I'm going to look to fade Jabari Smith of the Rockets. His PRA line going under 23.5 PRA for Jabari. To his credit, having a fine season, averaging a career high points per game, but just looking at this Rockets team, there's just a lot of high usage players who require a lot of shots on this roster. I would also add that in this matchup where Houston is double-digit favorites, I think it's unlikely, or I think there's a potential outcome, or a very likely one, where Houston blows out Memphis, and Jabari Smith, if that happens, won't be playing big minutes in this game. So just a lot of things working against Jabari Smith, who requires a lot of volume. He's kind of an empty scorer, or needs to shoot a lot, I should say, in order to get over 15 points or at this PRA line. So I think this is a good spot to fade what I think is a slightly an inflated number in what may be a difficult matchup.
And I attack the total here. I'm going to go over the 224.5. I'm going to overlook the fact that the under is 10-2 over the Rockets' last 12 games. The first matchup between these two, we saw 233 total points, and both of these teams are going to be fresh. We saw Memphis game yesterday against the Denver Nuggets be postponed. Houston had the full weekend off, so usually don't see that in the NBA. And when you look at the Grizzlies, they're just giving up a lot of points. Their last 2 matchups, 260 total points scored and 246. Give me the over here on 224.5.
Thank you so much to Prop Stars and Zach Attack. Appreciate the two of you. And hey, we love you here